But let's start in North Yorkshire and Rishi Sunak's Richmond constituency for what, in his own words, was a difficult night.
Something of an understatement maybe, with the Conservatives recording their worst results in electoral history.
While Mr Sunak did hold on to his own seat, so many of his colleagues did not. Though there is speculation about whether his future lies in North Yorkshire or North America. Our political correspondent Charanpreet Khera was in Richmond to watch events unfold.
As the sun rose over Richmond and a new dawn in British politics, it's set on Rishi Sunak's tenure as the first Yorkshire MP in the top job. 6 weeks ago, he stood in this same spot, washed out, now washed away.
To the country, I would like to say first and foremost, I am sorry.
From D-Day disaster to news around betting on ballots, with the now former Shipley MP staking 8k he'd lose his seat. And he was right. He lost by some 8,000 votes, a small silver lining.
What's the moral maze? I was busting a gut to win the election. I've busted a gut for 19 years to keep winning the election. I've delivered huge amounts of things for the Shipley constituency, all to win the election. I don't see what the moral dilemma is.
And lose they did. As Big Ben struck 10, the blue wall built by Boris Johnson came tumbling down. From Great Grimsby and Cleethorpes, Andrea Jenkins' seat in Leeds South West and Morley,
17,600
to Penistone and Stocksbridge.
Politics can be different. Politics can be better.
Labour joy met with Conservative commiserations.
Lee Anderson is duly elected.
In Ashfield, the Conservatives beaten into 4th place, with Lee Anderson becoming the country's first elected MP for Reform UK.
There's been a seismic reckoning in Ashfield and throughout the country. Reform are picking up seats tonight, make no bones about it. And next week, I'll be on the green benches with Nigel and a few others, and we're going to give them hell.
Rising from the dust of Tory decline, Labour's big hitters took the stage.
I'm Rachel Reeves, I'm the Shadow Chancellor of the Exchequer. Oh, maybe I'm Chancellor, who knows?
The strength of that vote for change is a testament to the damage that has been done over the last 14 years, but it's also to the challenges that we know as a country that we face. So now that the votes are cast and counted, it's time for the change to begin. Thank you very much.
One of the few Conservatives to cling on, Rishi Sunak himself, fuelled by
The traditional election night pie that I've had in all the elections I've stood at.
his now famous general election pie.
So this was Rishi Sunak's good luck charm yesterday. Tell me about his general election pie.
So he orders it every election, and he also orders it occasionally through the year for different events that he has.
So you're selling some mini versions today. Should we have a look at them?
Yeah, of course. I'll cut one in half just to show you.
So what's inside?
So it's pot pie with a layer of blue cheese and then Yorkshire chutney just on the top.
Do you think it'll be popular today?
I hope so.
Well, I hope that Rishi Sunak got to enjoy his pie last night, because it's his last dinner as Prime Minister. After the scale of Tory defeat in our region, though, some would say that his just desserts tonight would be a slice of humble pie.
And he won't be eating it at Downing Street. He's out and Starmer's in.
I invite you all to join this government of service in the mission of national renewal. Our work is urgent, and we begin it today.
Here's to the future.
But at the Labour and cattle auction, his work's cut out for him.
Should have been Rishi.
Really? You wanted Rishi to hang on?
Yeah.
As PM?
Yeah.
It was a bit of a whitewash, wasn't it?
And were you happy about that?
We'll see. Time will tell.
Do you think he'll stick around? Do you think he'll go to California?
Who would want a job like his?
As he waves goodbye to the top job, will he wave goodbye to Richmond too?
We'll have to see, won't we? Well, Charanpreet has hot-footed it back from Richmond. Also joining us in the studio is James Webster, who's been crunching those overnight poll numbers.
Yes, and James, let's start with you, in fact, because we have to talk about this seismic shift to the political landscape in our region, don't we?
Yeah, some really significant changes. So back in 2019, here's how our region looked. 44 Conservative MPs, 28 Labour. These are an estimate of the election results if in 2019 it had been fought on the constituency boundaries, which changed this year. Now it's very different. The Conservatives down to 16, Labour up to 52, and a Lib Dem MP, 2 for Reform and 1 independent. So this is the change in seats. Big smile from Sir Keir Starmer, with Labour up 24, the Tories down 28, and those extra Lib Dem, Reform and independent wins there as well. So if we put that onto a map, well, this is those estimated results from 2019. The so-called red wall had turned blue following Boris Johnson's Get Brexit Done campaign. Some seats that had never been Conservative before. Now let's take a look at it, and you can see lots of red appearing on here. The Tories still hanging on in much of North Yorkshire, East Yorkshire, Lincolnshire. You've got Reform here in Lincolnshire and in Ashfield, but much of West and all of South Yorkshire now turning red for Labour.
Interesting. Thank you, James. Well, let's bring in Charanpreet. This wasn't exactly unexpected, was it?
No, Lara. The pollsters have been out in force throughout this election campaign, and they'd previewed this result a few times. But even if we expected this, I don't want that to take away from the drama of it, because it was a dramatic result last night. In 2019, Labour left the election bruised and broken. They were obliterated in their heartlands in our region, and that hurt. It didn't really look like they would be able to rebuild, but rebuild they have. And if we look at James's map, they've even reinforced their position. They'll be storming into the new parliament with a stonking majority. And even if we expected that to happen, it's still historic. What's also historic, though, is that they'll be doing that with the lowest vote share of any elected government.
OK, now, James, I have to ask you, we've seen a big increase, haven't we, in Labour seats, but that's not matched by the actual number of votes.
No, it's not. So turnout was down, fewer votes in total. But if we look at Labour here in our region, back in 2019, they had 1.2 million votes, but only 28 MPs. Now, fewer votes, 1.1 million, yet 52 MPs. Compare that to the Tories, a much bigger fall in their votes, from 1.6 million down to 760,000. But that doesn't tell the whole story. Let's look at how the share of the vote has changed. A massive drop in the Conservative share, down 22%, but only 3% of that goes to Labour, 13% goes to Reform, and the Green Party, 5% increase in votes, but no MPs in our region. Many extra votes, though. It does look as though the votes splitting and spreading between those smaller parties has let Labour win more seats without actually getting more votes.
It's actually really interesting. Thank you. Back to Charanpreet then. What kind of a challenge is there for Labour in our region then as they move into government?
Well, look, those farmers I met in Leyburn this morning, I think they're a particularly tough crowd, but I got the feeling that they'll be sitting back with their arms folded, waiting for Labour to put a foot wrong. They'll be on high alert, waiting for this to happen. Meanwhile, Reform UK are biting at the Labour Party's heels, not just the Tories, coming second in Barnsley North and Barnsley South. And then it's interesting that an independent candidate won in Dewsbury and Batley as on a pro-Palestine campaign, as Labour's alienation of Muslim voters continues to haunt them in this election.
Charanpreet, James as well, thank you both. We'll be hearing from you both later on in the programme.